Short answer, use microlearning, have an end goal and something at stake. The long answer is a lot more interesting. Let's start with the story. Many of you might not know who Derek Sivers is. He's a musician, producer, circus performer, entrepreneur, TED speaker, and book publisher. He sold his first company for $22 million and gave all the money away. But the reason we're mentioning him is his story about how he learned 2 years' worth of Berklee College of Music education in 8 hours. He graduated in 2 years instead of 4, thanks to not conforming to the traditional style of education. Welcome to Alux. Almost every school on the planet functions on the same framework, called the Prussian system. It was invented almost 200 years ago as a means to train young kids to become obedient soldiers. Yeah, we know, not the origin story you would expect. After the Prussian military was crushed in a war with France back in early 1800, they realized a more obedient and patriotic population was needed. Among other things, they implemented mandatory school for all children in which they learned how to read, write, and sing about God. The overall purpose of this was to instill a sense of duty and obedience to a higher authority. And it worked out great with Prussia, now known as Germany, in becoming a powerhouse. News of this success traveled fast, from Prussia to France, England, and eventually the US.
The educational system is supposed to train people to be obedient, conformist, not think too much, do what you're told.
And while not all intentions were questionable, the result of this system was clear: a young population prepared to do what they've been told to do. They were a perfect fit for the Industrial Revolution, which required them to sit still and do repetitive tasks. School emulated factories perfectly, from you sitting at your designated station to the ringing of the bell. In 1840, the US adopted the Prussian system, and in 1892, literally 10 people decided what and when every kid in America should learn, and nothing has changed ever since. Arne Duncan, the 9th US Secretary of Education, argued that the factory model of education is the wrong model for the 21st century. The school system is purposely made to be extremely slow. It's organized around the lowest common denominator so everyone can catch up and nobody is left behind. Other benefits include you staying in school longer than you should, which means more student debt. Which brings us to today and back to our Derek Sivers story. He had 8 weeks before college started. One day he saw an ad in the paper about a music teacher giving lessons. He contacted him, and as it turns out, he was an ex-Berklee professor. During the course of 4 sessions, 2 hours each, this professor taught Derek everything he needed to know to basically skip the first 2 years of college.
In just 3 intensive lessons, he taught me 3 semesters of Berklee Harmony. So on opening day, I started in Harmony 4. In 1 intensive lesson, he taught me the whole semester of Arranging 1. Then I learned that I could buy the book for a course that I wasn't enrolled in, do all the examples myself without even needing to attend the class. Then I could approach the department head, take the final exam, and get full credit. And I double-checked you can still do this.
What Derek essentially did was a burst of microlearning sessions, with the goal of finishing college 2 times faster with the stakes of failing the exams. Which brings us to today's topic: microlearning. In Derek's mentor's words, the current pace is for chumps. Everyone has a different way of learning. The important takeaway from this is that education is highly personalized. For it to be efficient, it needs to be customized to the individual, which is the exact opposite of how it goes right now. Sal Khan, the founder of the Khan Academy, explains best how this process is going. Traditionally, you go to the classroom where the teacher presents you with a lesson. Then you go back home, learn it just the way they told it to you, and then you go back to the class for someone to test your knowledge. You have no say in what is taught to you and no control over the time frame. Khan argued for a flip, where you get the lesson at home in a digital format, and then you put it into practice in the classroom through interactive activities. And with the lesson being digital, you get worldwide access to the best teachers and mentors, and you don't have to limit yourself to whoever the school decides to hire or can afford to hire. So what exactly is microlearning, and how can it make your life better? Well, there's no clear definition. Microlearning is a form of education consisting of bite-sized content delivered at your convenience with a final end goal. And microlearning is also supported from a scientific perspective. Numbers may vary, but people forget about 80% of what they learned in a month. This is known as the forgetting curve, and it also explains why going through a big chunk of information in one go just doesn't do that much for you. That's why microlearning happens on a consistent basis. On top of that, scientific research has consistently proven that the brain can't focus on more than one thing at a single time. Multitasking is a myth. Your brain can't deal with different things at the same time without a major hit in your focus. That's why microlearning is distilled into one concentrated thing at a time. But ultimately, the best way to explain microlearning is to give you a clear and practical example. So here it is. No matter where you are in life, there is at least one skill that, if learned, it will have a high and immediate impact on you. If you're a writer, that might be writing more engaging articles. If you're an editor, that might be creating better visual stories. If you're working in advertising, that might be creating ads with better conversions. If you can't identify that one skill with immediate impact, then take a step back and reevaluate where you are in life and where you want to be. Next comes the part of curated knowledge, and this has two purposes. One, to eliminate all of the noise. We live in the age of overinformation. There's simply too much stuff about everything, and it becomes increasingly hard to get valuable and consistent information. Even information that used to be good isn't relevant anymore. Let's take the widely acclaimed book, The Intelligent Investor by Benjamin Graham. It's considered by most to be the Bible of value investing, but it was also released in 1949. That's a very, very long time ago. If someone would replicate everything they said in that book in today's market, they would have much different results. There are still nuggets of gold in there, but you can't have that as your only source of information. What you need to do is find your version of Derek's music teacher. And to speed up your time here, look for people with verifiable and relevant track records. A total random example, in the world of 3D animation, there's this famous donut tutorial free on YouTube. It teaches you how to create a 3D donut from scratch, while going through the 20% of animation skills you will use for 80% of your work. And the second purpose of this is to help you break down the skill into bite-sized chunks. Let's go back to the writing example. A breakdown of that can include a great intro, an engaging hook, a story-driven narrative, and a payoff at the end. And a pro tip on curated knowledge. We recently found newsletters to be a great source. We're subscribed to a lot of different newsletters, with the majority of them being paid on a yearly basis. They provide weekly reports of what's happening in the markets that we're interested in and are written by people totally immersed in their chosen field. Podcasts are another great source of curated knowledge. Almost all of us here at Alux have dogs, and we've gotten into the habit of listening to podcasts while we're out walking them. Once you have your skill and source of curated knowledge, pick a time frame and a medium. Time frame means where exactly in your day will you make room for learning. Some recent statistics revealed that people reserve 1% of their week for personal development. That means roughly 4 minutes. Is it enough? Well, it can be if the content is designed that way. Let's take a look at our app as an example. We're using microlearning in short 5 to 15-minute daily pieces of content. Our daily Alux sessions are designed to give you lots of value and insight in a very condensed period. And over time, all of those lessons compound into a very well-rounded knowledge base. The weekly story is even shorter, between 2 to 5 minutes, but offers up new perspectives and ways of thinking. And the learning packs, despite being 14 to 21 lessons long, each lesson only lasts about 8 to 10 minutes. So again, giving you curated and condensed knowledge that can fit into anyone's schedule. And when it comes to the medium of content consumption, audio and video provide the best engagement. That's why the courses on our website are video-based, since they're more complex. It would have been easier and a lot cheaper just to make the text or audio, but we wanted a complete experience to make things easier to understand and learn. And this brings us to goals and and stakes. By now, your goal should be clear, but let's talk about the stakes for a moment. There's this super cool website called Stick.com. We're not affiliated with them in any way, we just think it's kind of fascinating and it works great for our example. The premise of the website is simple. You put money on the line and a goal that you need to achieve. If you reach your goal, you get the money back. If not, the money is donated to a charity you absolutely hate. Let's use PETA as an example. Look, we love animals, but they're like pseudo-extremists by this point. The reason this works is because now you have something to lose, which you deeply care about. Think of it like this. It's more likely that you'll wake up at 5 a.m. if you have a plane to catch. This is called loss aversion. We as humans experience losses asymmetrically, more severely than equal gains. For example, you're much more pissed off if someone robs you of $1,000 than you are happy if someone gives you $1,000. Stakes don't necessarily have to be negative, but it's worth noting that they work better that way. After all, your brain already operates with a negativity bias, so why not use it to your benefit? Stakes are incredibly powerful incentives that push you to do things otherwise you wouldn't do, so use them wisely. And that's it from us today, Aluxer. As a thank you for sticking with us until the end, we have a bonus for you. Get a whiteboard and mark your progress on it daily. It acts as a commitment, a visual reminder, and it's deceivingly powerful. It costs you very little and can have a huge impact on your life. You'll thank us later.